All right, good evening, everyone. This particular presentation this evening is going to be on your research paper. So what you want to do first is go into your Google Drive, and there's a folder that I've shared with you called the research paper. Inside of it is you're going to go, well, let me back up. There's a bunch of different documents, and I'll go through a little bit of this tonight and a little bit of it later on. But you want to open up the research paper 2014 doc. And that'll explain the directions to you. So this over here will tell you the objective, which here is we're going to utilize research methods and critical analysis in order to produce a persuasive research paper. And yes, it is 10 pages, which includes your cover page and bibliography. And it's APA style research paper. So we'll get into what APA style means. But essentially, it's a way that you're going to cite information to give credit to the research that you've looked up and the people that wrote the research so that you're not plagiarizing. So just some particulars, you're going to do it in a 12-point font Times New Roman. So that means no fancy, no cursive, none of those other fonts that you like to use. The due date hasn't been set yet because we're going to paste it based on how we do in class. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to create a folder in Google Drive with the title research paper. Now for those of you all who have not produced or turned in your thesis statement yet, we'll talk about that in class, and by the time you watch this video you'll have an idea of what your focus will be on your paper. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the cover page. Okay, what that cover page should look like. So in here, actually in your folder, let's go back. There is an example research paper. This is an A paper from last year. So you can use this as a guide to look at, okay, what do I need to do for this research paper? What are the particulars? All right, so this is an example. And notice it's been highlighted for you. I have comments here to just remind you just in case you forget. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to insert a header. So you go to insert, you go to header, and we already have a header here. So on every page of your research paper, you're going to have what's called a running heading. So you're going to literally type the word running space head colon, and then once you figure out the title of your paper, you're going to put that in all caps. So like this one is limits for guns, gun laws, and actually that should be limits for gun laws in America. All right, and then we're going to close that. Now the only other thing you're going to have on your cover page is your title, which should be centered. Again, 12-point font Times New Roman. Your first and last name, Walker Mill Middle School, and then the date. And I'll give you the date that's due at that time. And that's it for the cover page. All right. The next section is the introduction. Now with APA format, and notice, let me back up. Notice that you always have the running heading on every page. And once you insert the header on the first page, it'll appear on every page. All right. So we'll close that. Now your subheadings are always going to be in bold letters, and they're going to be centered. So the first section you're going to do is your introduction. So this person decided to do their research paper, as you can see, on limits for gun laws in America. So their whole thesis statement was that there should be limits for gun laws in America and that they need to be stricter gun laws. So that was pretty much the basis of their paper. Now, if you go back to the folder, we're going to jump around a little bit. There is an outline here that outlines everything, and it says Research Paper 2014. That kind of gives you an outline of what each section is about. All right, and we'll go back here. So the first section is called the introduction. Now, in your introduction, you're going to use in your first sentence an attention grabber, whether it's a statistic, a question, a short story from when you've read about whatever your topic is, or when you did your research, something that's going to really grab the audience's attention. In this introduction, you're also going to include brief background information about your topic. It also include your thesis and your focus statement. In this entire piece right here, your introduction is one paragraph. And then in addition to that, you have 2 paragraphs that explains why you chose this topic and why this issue is important. So that's in introduction. So let's go back to the research paper so we can see what this looks like. So this person wrote, do you know how many people have died or have committed suicide because of guns? So here they used an interesting question to pull their audience into their paper. So what they decided to do is to back it up with some research. According to the United States versus Canada, Suicide Edition 2011, and we'll get to how to cite here in a little bit, gun suicide in the U.S. was 53% of all suicides, while Canada's gun suicide was only 16%. People in the U.S. have been a couple typos, using guns as their source to kill themselves. And you want to know why? Probably because they have access to the guns themselves from their friends or family. So then they go on to talk about guns aren't dangerous. It's the people to use them and their own intentions for the gun. Many people in the U.S. own a gun or more than one gun. Some people use guns for things like deer hunting and the killing of animals, and some of the other people use guns for killing people. Some of these people do it out for self-defense, while others do it for a job or for a living. And very important people like John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. has died because of guns. So you see how in their introduction they have their great lead, the statistics, and then another paragraph. All right. So what I need you to do for this particular video is to make sure that you create your research paper folder, create your cover page with a workable title based on your thesis statement. And what I also want you to work on is your introduction, which is one paragraph. And then you have a secondary paragraph which further explains the problem. Now, in our next video, we will talk about how this information is going to be organized in the next section, which is the problem statement. And obviously, if you're motivated to do so, you can always look at this example, look at what the problem statement is, what it entails, and then you can also use the outline here, which explains what's supposed to be in the problem section. Now, as always, you want to make sure your research paper is organized, that we're following that hamburger model where you're supporting your ideas, you're elaborating, you're explaining, but also I'm going to discuss in further detail in class or possibly in the next video how to use APA citations, as that's going to be a critical component for your research paper. So in order to turn this in, make sure you do your cover page, create your folder, write your introduction, and you're going to turn that link into Edmodo. All right. If you have any questions, make sure you bring those to class, and I will definitely be there, obviously, to assist you and help you through this process to write this persuasive style research paper.